That's say if it's 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, it's LinkedIn Live, Hour of Empower every day here. I am so gratified and appreciating so much of your support, but mostly so much of your continuing success, learning, learning how to reach out and support each other. And chat's open. We depend on you to direct our conversations. We want to be as relevant as we can to as many people as we can in the shortest period. So you are the star of the show, audience, and we're with you. So this is for you. And with that said, I want to introduce back our one of our best and favorite co-hosts, Sarah Dawkins, who is doing just amazing things and is helping so many people. With that, Sarah, why don't you share? And today's keyword is focus. And we believe it can have significant value to those who can better appreciate how to apply it. So Sarah, welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you, Dom. For all those listening, I think most of you know me. My background, I was a registered nurse for 20 years and now I'm a holistic health coach. And focus, what are we focusing on? Well, we can focus on many things. We can focus on ourselves, we can focus on the task at hand, or we can focus on what's happening around us, whether that's we're outside in nature, whether we're doing something with somebody else, whether it's a sport, it doesn't matter. But if we can bring that focus in and put all of our attention on that, we can learn and grow from it in many ways. So if I bring it back to focusing on self, so what can we do to focus on self? Well, a lot of people would instantly think about, well, how do I look? What do I sound like? Am I acceptable to a lot of people? But for me, focus on true, authentic self. Who am I really? Who am I when I'm not at work? Who am I at home with my family or with my friends? And who is it that you want to be? Are you being who you really are? So where in yourself would you put that focus? What are your behaviors? Focusing on what you're doing, what you're saying, the thoughts that you're having. Are they really your thoughts? And bring it back to yourself. Bring that focus back to you. Who do you want to be? What do you want to sound like? What do you want to look like? And what image do you want to give of yourself to the world? And why should it not be who you truly are? Let's focus in on who we are and build and grow on that. There's so much that we could do for ourselves. We can change our behaviors. We can learn things. We can grow. We can focus on ourselves educationally, personally, environmentally. There is so much that we can do. So why are we not doing it? Where is our focus going? And often we find our focus can widen, so we become people pleasers. We want people to like us. So our focus isn't about us, it's about what they want of us, how we need to be accepted by them. So our focus shifts from ourselves to that other person. So let's bring it back to ourselves and ask ourselves, who am I? Who do I want to be? And what focus do we need to, where do we need to put that focus? And what do we need to learn, grow, and build on to bring ourselves back to ourselves? What do you think?
I think it's wonderful what you just said, and I think it's so important, and any part of it will bring value to anybody who decides to consider it and then apply it. And that's really the key, is not only who do you want to be, but what do you want to do with who do you want to be? Because unless you take action and make change happen, you've just changed maybe your costume, but you haven't changed the you that's most important, is what sings to you in your heart. What is something you aspire to be? And the first step is taking inventory, writing things down when it comes to you, and look at it, and enjoy it. If someone showed you an upgraded car or an upgraded house or a great vacation that was now yours, and all you had to do is redeem it, and I think once you see what you can be, once you believe in your heart you deserve to be, then that changes everything, because the future is in the hope for the future, not in the despair of the past, and that's where, again, focus is like changing the channel on your TV. Are you watching a drama, a mystery, a horror show, or are you watching a comedy, a romance, a high performance type something? Because, like I say, everything you do takes you closer to your goal or further away. You want to eat well, then, one carrot or one cream pie won't hurt you the minute you eat it, but over time it makes a difference. And when you feel better, you think better, right? And I think good health in relationships, in nutrition, in exercise, it's all there. And with that said, let me introduce some of our honored audience, because without you, there is no show or as much fun. Dean's here almost every day. We love Dean. He always brings some laughter and some insights that are important to so many. Omar's here, who was a guest yesterday with Rita Wirtz and knocked it out of the park. Thank you so much, Omar, for supporting and participating. I see a new name here, Freeman Beals. Morning, everyone. Happy Sunday. It's great when everybody starts with hello, happy this, good morning that. I mean, it's like it used to be, as people show a little more consideration, best wishes, because little things make a lot of difference to a lot of people who don't get those little things on a regular basis. So a greeting is great. Christine, you got to get to know, if you don't know Christine, she is doing so much at the same time and continues to excel at it and be successful. Real inspiration for multitasking. Good morning. I want to be a more patient mother, an understanding spouse, an engaged contributor for my employer and for myself, improve my mental and physical health. Though this is for everyone too. Look at that. It helps to write that out, because it becomes real once you put it on paper. Lillian is here. Thank you so much, Christine. Good morning. Lillian is wonderful. And, just to know that people are pursuing excellence in their lives, that want to make change, that are right and ready for change, that makes it all exciting. It builds that expectation of goodness coming, instead of a lot of people focus on what they don't have, what they used to have. I mean, they're trying to watch a movie expecting a different ending, and it never happens. I mean, produce your own movie, and that way you'll be assured of your role, of your salary, of your conditions, and I think that's the focus, is don't depend on others, because focusing on them won't change them, right?
No.
And go ahead.
Can I jump in there, Don? Because when I was in a really, really bad place, I was deep in depression with suicidal thoughts. And as I was healing myself, coming out of that, I started doing guided meditations. And at first, my focus was just on finding a little bit of light and a little bit of joy and peace within myself. But as I started to heal, my focus became, who am I really? Because I've been playing an act for people pleasing. And who do I want to be in the future? What do I want? And I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And not just your run-of-the-mill entrepreneur. I wanted to be an award-winning entrepreneur. I wanted to be successful. And I used to meditate on that. I used to do some guided meditations, some silent meditations. And as I started to heal, I started to find more light, more joy, more happiness. And I started the process to becoming an entrepreneur. Anyway, fast forward a couple of years, and I became a multi-award winning entrepreneur. Because I'd meditated on it. I felt what it felt like. I'd seen myself in the future and brought myself into the now. And my focus was purely on what would it feel like to be a multi-award winning entrepreneur. And I sat with those feelings and I became it. So if I can do it, anybody can do it. But you have to sit with the feelings of bringing the future into the now. So not only know who you want to be now, if you're not who you are, who you truly are, who you want to be, but also what do you want in your future, and bring it to you, because it's your words, your thoughts, your beliefs, your feelings that bring your future reality into the now. So focus on what you want, and it will come to you at the right time to benefit you. It took me about a year before I won my first award, but I did it and I meditated on it. And there's no reason why we can't focus in on what we want, truly what we want, and bring that to us, because it's all energy, and energy attracts energy. So let's put that out there. This is what I want. This is who I want to be. This is what I want out of life. But really focus it in. And it's not selfish to focus on us. We need to focus on us to find who we are, to be a part of the wider world as our true authentic self, doing what we want to do. Does that make sense?
Well, that's amazing. And I hope everybody took it to heart, because what it really says is the treasure and the abundance is within us, not outside of us.
Yeah.
And we can manifest whatever we want if we do it in a logical, measured, one brick on top of another brick approach. Too many people, they look at something and it's so daunting. For, you know, like climb this big mountain, and if you look at it from where you are, it looks like forever. But if someone says, hey, let's walk up 50 feet, right? And then, hey, at 50, do we want to go another 50? I mean, it's like morsels that you can savor and enjoy, because too many people race up something, and even if they arrive, they haven't enjoyed the journey. They haven't enjoyed the company. All their focus was hitting a mark and then not knowing what they're supposed to do when they get there next. And why put yourself in a position where you're stressing? Because the reason people give up is it becomes too difficult. And it's only as difficult as you make it. If you have a road trip, some people could do it in a day. Some people will take 4 or 5 days to look at the sites, historic places, have nice lunches, and make the transition or the journey even more fun than the destination. And if you've ever read a really great book, sometimes you don't want it to end, right? You want to just, if you just had one more chapter or you had one more question answered about a character or a plot. And that's why slowing things down, and I think that's a great point that was just made, is you get to see things slower. You know, did anybody ever show you a bunch of stuff fast and you say, can you just slow it down a little, or can I see it one more time? And sometimes you want to think on things that some people don't have to think of. And what's good for you may not be good for everybody else. And what's relevant to you, because, you know, just like we were just saying, or Sarah was just saying, this is your future right now. Time waits for no one. You can't save time. You can't say, hey, you know, like a dentist appointment, can you switch me to 2 weeks from now? You know, what was here today will be gone tomorrow. And you may be gone, and you will be gone one tomorrow, right? So if you've earned this, you've learned this, you've saved this, why not put it all together and apply it and let it lift you? Right. And, you know, the thing is you never lose if you're learning, if you're enjoying, if you're growing. And the other thing I want to say, focus on the people you're with, because they're the ones who are going to encourage you or discourage you. They're the models for you to learn from. They're the helping hand when you need it. I mean, you're so much braver when you got a net beneath you than when you don't. And the other thing is what's good for you then becomes good for people like you and with you. And now you could be the one. You know, they say the 3 elements of learning is learn, teach, and then teach how to teach. You know, and once you can get to that point, the word will spread. And if your intent, and I think that's a key part of focus too, is for goodness, you know, is, like Sarah says, to doing something really important in life, but that important in life is what's important to you only first. And if you're lucky and someone else finds it important, well, that's gravy, but you start out a winner for yourself. Because just like Sarah was saying, energy shows even though you can't see it, right? They say it's always your music people listen to, never your words. If you come out excited and joyful, enthusiastic, I want to be around that person and get a piece of that and then learn how to do it myself and then share it with others. Because here's the other thing, we're on a social network right now. People have 5, 10, 100,000 connections. If we just decide what's good for us is good for a lot of people we already know, why aren't we sharing it? There's so many people who do individual, independent content that's personal to them, may not have any overarching value, or may not really be something of high value to begin with, right? It could be someone's trip that's important to them, but not somebody else. But when you find somebody who you can be the first one to introduce to something that could be life-changing, and it is, and that's what we're really talking about, and that's why this is so serious. This is everyone's future, the world's future. And the only way I see of making things change is peer-to-peer. One person next to the other person. Forget about centralized governments and institutions. They can't give you the access. They can't give you the care. And you can't wait, and that's why I do this every day, is everybody who needs to be in this group has a group every day, has people that can make them a little bit better for being around them. But when people realize what happens to you also happens to everybody. Life isn't a bowl of cherries. If it's not this, it's that. If it's not now, it's then, So the key is why not build that support before you need it? And with that, we'll just answer some more questions. I get too caught up. But this is very cool because it makes everyone think a little more, and that's what it does. Hello, Roxanne. We have a Jeanette. Thank you for coming. New person. I just love new people because this can spread beyond any border, beyond any culture, because if we're talking about love, kindness, support, nobody has an issue with that. It's non-controversial, let's say. Greetings, Victoria's here. Haven't seen you. It may be once. Hi, Omar, Lillian, Roxanne, Dean, welcome. Well, it looks like Christine knows Freeman. Hopefully we all get a chance. Saying more hellos, Freeman. Back to you. It's nice to be, Trevor's here. Haven't seen Trevor in a while. I actually was watching his show. Trevor does so many great things for so many people. And actually through Trevor, when Tara Gooch was on his show, I met Jenny Maxwell and Gretchen, who have been on for about 4 months too. So it just shows you how when two circles combine, each circle gets a lot bigger and better. And what you really should find interesting is no matter how many connections you have with someone who's so aligned with you, the crossover is like 5 or 10%, right? So if someone has 20,000 and you have 20, you really have 18,000 new people from both sides that now get to see somebody. Lillian knows Trevor. People get a reputation for helping people. And that's what the stories usually get told. Trevor introduced me to this person. Paul gave me like 5 introductions, another one yesterday. And that's what I was saying earlier. If you got some good, share it. If you got somebody who is good, share them, right? You're helping 3 people, including yourself. Okay, Lookout is in the house. Haya Freeman, got another LinkedIn user. I think it might be Roxanne. Lillian's here. Lillian's from Romania. Wonderful lady. I've been connected to Lillian for like 3 years. She has like 70,000 connections. She's really focused on young children, preschool, and helping so many people out. So thank you for taking the time, Lillian. Lillian knows Lillian. Greetings from Delhi. Great. Leslie Flowers is here. She's going to be our co-host tomorrow. Just a wonderful lady. Just met in the last few weeks. Have been highly supportive. has a wealth of resources and experience and wisdom. And you know what's so cool? Only 2.2% of the people on LinkedIn are over 55, and like 90% are on the show. So, you know, they're, well, 82% are between 18 and 34. So if you're not talking like a 34 or younger person, you're talking old school. Here we go with Gokul. Thank you so much from India. You know, and so many people can help learn and share. Life is a game and we're playing for time. Why not play to win? Why not be the biggest win you can have, knowing that whatever you do was worth doing because you did something and you'll learn from it. They say failure is only feedback. Not only are we playing for time, but we're playing for our focus. That's a good thing about having a keyword. Hold your focus close. Enjoy it. You know, it's like a garden. Build it. You know, cultivate it. You know, be proud of it. Okay, going on to Janet. I'm a professional web developer, so I need jobs. Okay, that's important to know. Dave is here. Haven't seen Dave in a long time. Actually, I just tagged Dave. Must have seen my profile. So anybody who looks at my profile, likes, or comments gets tagged. So that's one way of returning the appreciation and time people put in. Okay, we'll definitely start doing. Paul's here. Paul's just amazing. If you don't know Paul, you got to know Paul. Hello, Don's here. I'm sorry I'm late. I was out walking. Happy Sunday. Grateful to be here. You know, it's so important that people come here like it's a classroom and they excuse themselves when they're a few minutes late. And, you know, even 1 minute is an effort and an opportunity to learn. So I think do the best you can with what you got and build on it. Leslie says wisdom. That's going to be a keyword just for saying that. That'll be in the next week or so. Lillian knows Paul. Ambambola, just amazing, from Nigeria. We've got the biggest Nigerian contingent of viewers based on Ambambola sharing it. And it's great because it's universal. Lillian, greeting Ambambola. Good morning, Lillian. Everybody's so cordial, kind, and thoughtful. So we've covered that. There'll be a lot more. Oh, Jatendra, before I turn it over, from India, has been a regular here. So what do you think about this response, Sarah, and how it relates to our keyword?
Oh, I just love that everybody comes on here, Don, and they're just free flowing with the speech, with the gratitude, saying hello to everybody, and the focus is the show. It's about building the community, is how I see it, and everybody that's joining us is a part of that community, and just saying hello to everybody else. And I love that people are speaking to people, and you're growing this every day, day by day. So many beautiful people joining in. It's fabulous.
Yeah, I mean, I can't get over it myself, and I'm sincere with that, because if anything is about you, there's not enough you. You know, but if it's about everybody else and everybody else makes it about everybody else, it never stops, because it's like a door that keeps getting bigger and opening. Because if you make things about being inclusive, right, about really getting down to the point that, you know, what Sarah talks about and what we're talking about at that deeper level, everybody's equal, right? If everybody's hoping for hope, that at that point doesn't matter what you did, who you are. It really just matters where you are in your heart, in your mind, and your ability to trust. Again, you know, is to justify, qualify. But once people are in, then it's openness, right? Then how much can I share and not how much can I get rid of? But what's the best of me that I can share with somebody to help them be the best in themselves? Paul says, need to have Brett. Brett's been on 2 shows, a very distinguished international banker that retired at 52 and was on. You know, and everybody has their story, and everybody's story is worth telling, and everybody's story is important to them because that's their life, right? And the more they can share, the less painful, maybe painful things are, and the more joyful, maybe really quality experiences. And again, focus on the achievements in your life, the times when you were on top of the world, where you couldn't believe how happy you were, when you were with people may not be here anymore, but just made you smile when you met them. And it's like going through your closet and say, I'm going to hang up the stuff that doesn't fit anymore, doesn't look good on me, doesn't serve me, but I'm going to pick up all this wonderful fashion here that I haven't applied in a while. And sometimes, I even have like articles my mother used to wear. I remember a sweater, and I can still smell the perfume on it, and it's just taking that moment, like you say, whether it's meditation or something that brings you to a place that you've already been and know how to feel it, or you hear a song and that song relates to where you were when something happened or what happened with that song. And your best self wants to be a happy self, and you have an obligation to free it and let it be, right? So here we go with Omar. Glad to see Freeman. He's a great guy. Told him about you and your collaboration. Glad he is listening. And I'll reach out and have a call with Freeman this week. So I'm totally accessible because I learned so much, without, a second opinion, without a sounding board. You're living in a vacuum, right?
I've had a conversation with Freeman. He's a great guy.
Okay, well, listen, Freeman, this could be your day. Everybody here will probably be reaching out. Note Leslie Flowers says, note the level of openness, awareness of belonging of those attracted to this group. Well, I think what it is when you put a quarter in a slot machine, it always pays off. You can't wait to play it again, right? So if every lotto you won, you'd be like, hey, why would I ever stop playing this thing? And this is the same thing where you get more value than you're used to getting from other things or other uses of your time. And you say, hey, I'm happier, I'm better on 7 different levels. And the thing is, the beauty of it is LinkedIn created a LinkedIn Live. And like I found out, it's 24 times more powerful than organic video, which most people aren't even at. And that's 5 times greater than a text post. So 120 times you can't miss when you're the only person on the field. You got to win. Lillian says, I'm grateful. I'm glad to be here with you. Happy Sunday, everyone. Dean, this platform just shows that everyone has a seat at the table and everyone has a story to tell. And, you meet the same people on the way down as you meet on the way up. And you got to realize that. And one thing I always say, I learned so much more on my way down than I learned on my way up, because what you really learn is being humble, being modest, being grateful for things that you took for granted. But that's okay, because again, it just gives you a compass to say, here's where you are now. And especially if you used to be there, you know what it is, you know where it is. Now it's getting back to it. And that's why life is so enjoyable, because every day's a mystery. No one knows. What's your thoughts on all this wonderful interaction, Sarah?
Oh, I love it, Don. I love it. These people are everyone that's joining is just so fabulous. But as you've just said, we can learn something from everybody because we all have different experiences, and we view those experiences through the lenses that we've created through our own life experiences. So we could experience the same thing but differently and have different takeaways. So everybody can learn something from anybody because we've all got our own stories to tell. And if we focus on our own story all the time, to the exclusion of other people's stories, we're not really going to learn and grow as much as we could if we speak to other people, which it's like looking at life through binoculars. You only see through the lenses of those binoculars. If you look at life through your own eyes and look in your peripheral vision, that's everybody else's experiences, and they can enhance our own life experiences so much through what that other person has learned and experienced. And some of my clients, when I'm talking with them, they're fixated on the view. Something's happened and they feel really bad, and I'm like, well, but what about all this outside here? And a lot of people haven't even seen all that outside there because their focus has been so narrow. So if we can let go of the binoculars and understand our life has shaped how we view things, and talk to other people and learn from other people, we can get such a rich variety of life experiences to enhance our own and broaden our focus into other people's eyes.
Yeah, I think that's so applicable because, especially on LinkedIn, because again, focus on your story. You have many stories, right? Stories for different people, for different situations. And, if you ever, and you have met people, anytime people ask you your story, you naturally will then ask that person their story. Now, two stories get told, and now your story gets better for yourself because you told it again. Maybe you'll adjust it a little bit, optimize it, but you'll also get the feedback from it,
Yeah.
right? And if you run your life with a poll of one person that said something, and that's now become the gospel, right? That's pretty limited. If you can share your story and 10 people come back and say, boy, I thought that part was interesting, or more importantly, I listened to your story and that was the reason I decided to do something today.
Yes.
That's what you're hoping for. And then you never know. They say don't judge a book by its cover. There are so many, in my lifetime, I've met so many people who never had any formal education and were among the smartest, wisest people I've ever met because they had to do it by touch. They had to do it by, bouncing around, learning things, probably hitting the ground many times. But you know what? Every day is a new day. Yesterday does not have to be today or tomorrow. It shouldn't define you. And more importantly, don't let anybody else tell you who you are, because anybody who tells you who you are shouldn't be telling anybody who they are, right? And that right there is something that shows maybe overcompensation for an issue they have, but you shouldn't have to adopt. And when you find a happy home, build on it. And that's why I love about this place is it was built on brick with everybody being that brick and everybody knowing that they need each other to benefit themselves and each other. And once you know that, giving is getting, right? You got to put fuel in the tank if you want to go on a vacation. And the same thing here. Let me cover some more people. It's just amazing. I just love the conversation. Ambambola says it's all about inclusiveness. We are all one, irrespective of color, race, age, or qualification, because 99% of people, and I don't think I'm reaching, just want to live a happy life, want to have great friends and family, want to earn their way, and want to have a little fun with everything. That's what they want. And the 1% is the noise, the static, the overwhelming influence. And I think with all the AI stuff and inauthenticity, the only thing you can trust is now with who you're with that you can see, touch, and feel.
Yeah.
And that's why these shows are going to be more important, because people are just tired of the mob, of the people who scream the loudest, the meanest, who get their attention and shock people. And people don't need to be shocked anymore. There's enough things going on in the world that are enough without any more, or without people creating or communicating that. So hopefully this will be, the message will be the movement, right? And once you know what works for you, and you have a story of success, tragedy is so important for the triumph part of the story. The before is where it all started. The person who just lost 80 pounds because they gave up sugar, and 6 months later, look at me, right? And that's what, but if someone says, well, I was 80 pounds overweight and then I went to 100 pounds overweight after 6 months, you would say, why don't you wait until it develops a picture before you start sharing it? So what's your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely, Don. And I wouldn't be where I am now if I had not gone through those dark times. And I don't talk about those dark times as look at me, look what I'm a victim and I've been through this. I talk about it as look at where I am now. And if I hadn't have gone through those dark times, I'd just been an average person doing an average job. And I tell people you're not average. You're born to stand out. You're born to be different. Don't be average. And I've changed radically since I've been through that time. So I look back at it, and I don't look back at it with sad eyes. I look back at it as that was life changing. I am now where I am because of what I've been through. And if I hadn't have been through those awful times, I wouldn't be here now. I would still be average. And let's not be average. Let's be big. Let's be bold. Let's be who we're meant to be. Focus on yourself. Like I said earlier, and you've said, who am I and what action do I need to take to get me to where I'm going? And just step into it. Sometimes we've got to take a bit of a sidestep, but it's all part of the plan, part of the journey, because that sidestep will now lead me forwards. So where is your focus? For me, my focus is in the here and now and moving it forwards. It's not back where I've come from. That was just a stepping stone to get me to where I am now. And lots of people are likely the same, that they've been through some awful times, but that has actually been their springboard to get them to where they are now.
Absolutely. And I think when people realize that life is a natural adventure, if you ever seen those Indiana Jones movies,
Yeah.
right? And they go through the most elaborate challenges, right? Snakes and rolling boulders who are flying after them. But you know what? When they finally breathe a sigh of safety, it was so much to them. It's like, wow, when you don't think you're going to make it and you make it with flying colors, and you look at every disappointment as an opportunity to learn from it, to get better. They say failure is feedback and you should fail yourself forward. And if you look at it like that, there's a saying, it's not how many times you fall down, it's how fast you get up. Yeah. Right. And you're going to keep falling down and you're going to get knocked down, but that's okay. If you just say, dust yourself off for a minute, take a sense of where you are and what just happened. And, add an element of curiosity, because that always helps. Because when something that comes out of the clear blue sky, out of nowhere, I always say to myself, what's the chances of that happening? Whatever it is, good, super good or super bad. And I just realized, and you got to tell yourself, what just happened to you happens to people every day that you don't even know about. When it happens to them, even when you read about it, it doesn't touch you the same way. And it just says there's an area of me that's affected, right? And I'm sensitive right now to that area. But once you acknowledge, you say, well, okay, well, let's get something to put a Band-Aid on it. Let's work on it. Because sometimes things happen. You got to tell yourself, there's no way I'm going to get over this by tomorrow or next week, right? It's like, hey, this is going to take a long time, maybe all my life. But if I don't make it like the most only thing in my life, or that defines now from being a good person to being not so good or not being proud of myself. And, if you can't be proud of yourself, ask yourself how many people around you are proud of you, even when you're not proud of yourself, and do it for them, because when people say, I don't care, I give up. Or the other side, I've talked to people, I said, would you like to do something and have an opportunity? And they'd say, well, I've got all the money I ever need. And I would always say, well, don't you know somebody who doesn't? And maybe you want to take that and offer it to them, right? Because if you can get out of you and make it about it, it's not personal anymore. Yeah. So anyways, I'll read some more and we'll get right back to Sarah. Paul, as much as you commit to your focus, you'll commit to your future. That's a good saying. Yeah. And, give yourself a saying, make yourself a saying, borrow a saying. There's websites, that just give you a million quotes. You can get inspired until you're blue in the face, and they'll still give you more quotes. Lillian,
Can I share a quote with you that really got me through tough times? It's one by Henry Ford, and it says, "If you always do what you've always done, you'll always get what you've always got." So that in itself leads you to change your focus, because if you don't want to be doing always what you've done, not if you want to do different things, if you want to be different things, if you want to go different places. So, like I say, there's plenty of quotes out there that people will find that they will resonate with. And for me, that really hit the nail on the head.
yeah, and I think that's important to have a shopping list to say, you know, maybe I should acquire a saying or two, write it down, even post it. You know, when I was on my search for lots of connections, and I went from 5,000 to 25,000 like 4 months. What I did is it was early on, and what I was told and made sense is the only three reasons people come to LinkedIn is for education, inspiration, or education, right? So if you can entertain them, inspire them, or educate. So I said, well, why not do all three every day? So I had 5 quotes of the day, 5 tips of the day, and 5 people a day. And I never changed the format. And I tagged like 100 some people. And the headline was, we just hit 11,000. Let's do 12. And 3 days later, everybody got behind it. And we started knocking out 1,000 at a time.
Wow.
And it's just really, here's what I need. Here's what I want to do. Here's how I'm going to take care of you. And here's how you're going to benefit. So when you create win-win-wins, that no one has to wonder who loses here, right? Because you create the presentation. You know, everything in life is like a play. You know, everybody has their role. Everybody has their costume. Everybody has when they enter, when they leave, and everything else. The difference is you can produce your own play, make yourself the leading person, give yourself the best costume, the best lines. And one thing that I've learned over the last few weeks, and we talk about this, is everybody knows what to do. And the reason I say that is if you bought a lot of clothes and it didn't fit and you weren't comfortable with it, you wouldn't think twice of taking it back and exchanging it against something else. If you ate something that didn't taste right, you would never eat it again. But people put up with relationships they know are stale, they know don't fit, aren't comfortable, they know what they should do. But you know what they lack is an alternative, a way out. It's like, no question, everything is not what I should have, not what I want. And if you don't make a move towards learning, at least connecting, you know, from others, because when someone, you know, that we always talk about that saying here, if you can't do it, could we?
Yeah.
And not everybody is in a position where even with the best knowledge and everything, they've got the strength. Most people are down because they got sucked clean of their energy or their motivation, or people kept telling them what they couldn't do, what they weren't good at, dream stealers, you can call them. But when you can find a group like this, who I guarantee you, and I'm not usually wrong, reach out to everybody and say, I saw you on the show, I'd like to connect with you. I guarantee you everybody will connect. And if you are respectful, right, and appreciate people's time, and just mention something that they know you really did something, like, hey, I saw your podcast. You had this one saying that I never forget. I'd love to talk to you. I mean, we'd love to talk to you because you're already proving yourself as the kind of person we want to associate with. So let's just finish with Dean. Don, you say learning on the way up and down, could it be like the hills of San Francisco when you think you're on top of one hill only to find you're at the bottom of another? Well, you know, everything is context. Without valleys, mountains are never that big. And mountains, you know, and the same thing on the other way. And know that you're only there as long as you want to be there, right? You can start to climb anytime you want. We've got a new name. I'm not even going to attempt to pronounce it, but a nice platform to share your story. You know, there's people who are just bursting at the seams to get rid of stuff inside of themselves to share it, but they don't know where. They don't know who's going to accept them, because the worst thing you do is finally get vulnerable, share something, and they get a shower of criticism or something like that, because that won't help you. Exactly. Every day is a new day. Paul, it's like my grandpa said, Don, experience will always be your greatest teacher. Old school is the new school. And, there's only one school, and that's the humanity school we're all in. What's old is new again in most cases, but the best of the old never became old. It became evergreen. And the best of the new will one day become old school and evergreen too. So, like we say, every ending is another new beginning. And if we can take the best of the best instead of choosing between, make success out of either and, not either or, right? Compliment on what you have. We've got Minerva. This is very deep, lots to think on this comment. And, focus is typically not a highly emotional word, but it has that ability to do that. I always say, Don, the world was my evidence that what most people are doing financially isn't working. I don't need to say much because are living it. And that's such a beautiful point, because why are you doing what you don't like for things you never have a chance to appreciate or use?
Yeah.
Right? And that's minimalism takes so much, because minimalism says I only need so much now, which means now I can do stuff that doesn't pay a lot, but it's what I need or want to be involved in.
Yeah.
Right? And I think that's so cool. Minerva says, it's a mirror, Roxanne. Picture next steps. Leslie, focus is the number one thing my clients say is their biggest challenge. And that's why a coach is there. It's not what a coach does. It's what allows the other person to do what they wouldn't or couldn't have done without you. You're the piece that can make it move and make it grow. Leslie Flowers, I'm like that at times as well. It's like when you have so much going on, it can be hard to focus even when you're trying to. And, there's nothing with slowing things down, with putting a walk into your day, for 30 minutes, where it's just as important as your next Zoom call, because when you come back, you're better for it. And it shows the world didn't disappear in the meantime, that you weren't that important. When I was starting my businesses, when I was really young, I mean, I used to take Florida vacations and I'd be there for 2 days and the family would be there for a week, thinking the business couldn't live without me, and after a while, I found that it worked better without me, because everybody needs time away from each other. But you learn that, not that you were born with that, but then you share that, and now maybe someone else can appreciate. My experience, this question has changed my life. Who loses if I don't win? Attach the people closest to you to your goals and watch your excuses, negative thoughts disappear. Well, that's why constructive is so much better than destructive. Here we go with, okay, Paul says, okay, we just finished that. Lillian is Minerva. I never thought about doing that. Thanks for sharing. And that's the key. Anything that's a seed for thought that says, I was on the needle or the bubble and now I'm going to move. And any community helps. I was in Weight Watchers and my wife got me into it with her. I lost 42 pounds in 20 weeks. She lost 40 pounds in 20 weeks. But what was so cool, we stayed with it for 5 years and we maintained. But the motto was, when you're up, the meeting needs you. When you're down, you need the meetings. Right. And it was everybody rooting for somebody. Even if someone says, I went on a cruise, only gained 5 pounds. It's like, great. Everybody gains 10 pounds. Your shares, Roxanne, excited. You'll be back on the show this week. Yeah. Roxanne's coming on Wednesday, and that's part of it. If you show up for the audience, you should be on the show. If everybody's equal, everybody should get visibility and exposure and the chance to tell their story. Your shares, okay. Here's another one. You're on fire this morning. I talk about you nearly every time I go live. Well, you're going to have to come on the show too and tell everybody about it here. And that's what the nice thing about being 7 days a week and actually going to a lot of times 3 spots as far as co-hosts gives everybody more opportunity. And you can't really forget what happened today if you're starting to learn it again tomorrow. Right. So that's the peaks and valleys. And it works. Paul says, Trevor, great show yesterday, my friend. And, Sarah does podcasts. Others got his show. Take advantage of these wonderful people and what they're doing, because they put in a lot of time and effort for not a lot of financial benefit now. It's really doing the best you can with what you got, with who's around you, and building on that. Growth happens in the valley. It's where the soil's rich. Fresh water is collected, and it's shelter from the elements of the mountain heights. You get your view from the mountain, but you grow in the valley. So true, and a great for everybody. And when we share something like this, 100 people are seeing it, and then after this, for the next 30 years, they'll be seeing me and Sarah. And what we're saying will still be applicable 30 years from now, because people won't evolve in any much way. But the feelings will even probably be more necessary for people to get through it. Minerva, never be discouraged. Time has a slot appointed for each of us. The best time in your life is right now, because that's the time you have. And how do you use the time? And it can be something simple. Take a moment to enjoy an apple, and hear the crunch, and watch the juices flowing, and whatever it does for you, because it happens every time you do it. You're not focused on it.
Be mindful. Be mindful in everything that you're doing, not just eating, but in any interactions, when you're reading, when you're out walking in nature. Be really present and in that moment, and use all your senses to bring that moment into its finest, smallest particulate. Let go of everything else extraneous and just be with whatever it is that you're doing. Focus in on that moment and use mindfulness to do that.
Absolutely. And here's the other big point, is figure out, how do you win every day? You're the one who creates the game, and the game is usually between you and yourself. You're the person who decides what score wins, who wins. And, why not say, I'm going to create a game that everybody wins, and everybody wins more, where it's not I have to take to get, but I can give more and then get something for what I just gave to someone, because people are naturally good, especially when things are happening that are good to them. Right? And I've been really successful at times in my life, and I can honestly say it's lonely at the top. If you don't take a lot of people with you, did you ever try clapping with one hand? It's like enjoying something and no one saw it, no one knows it but you. It's really a deflated thing. And I think that most people don't give themselves enough credit. Should say, just like an umpire who says, hey, I think you deserve a little something extra for what just happened. And sometimes you just say, listen, I'm a winner from just playing, because like I say, when I start the day, as soon as I wake up and I open my eyes, I say, I just got a ticket to the new roller coaster of life today. Because you don't know if you're going to open your eyes. No one guarantees anybody tomorrow. There's people wake up today, don't go to sleep tonight. People go to sleep tonight, don't wake up tomorrow. So when you got a day, and you got people, and you got the world, and one thing, the sky is free to everybody. The birds are free to everybody. Nature is so wonderful. Animals are so wonderful. People are so wonderful. You can run out of so much wonder if you want. It's enormous. And that's why when you get outside of yourself, you really open up room inside of yourself. So I can't help the comments are getting better every minute. My goal every day is to learn something new and make someone's day nearly every day. This show checks both boxes for me. I spend the rest of my day in abundance. And you know what? It takes hard work to get to somewhere every day and to contribute. This is 300 or so days in a row, right? But, I can only do it one day at a time. And what it teaches you, no matter what your journey is, you can only do so much today.
Yeah.
Do the best you can, know it was the best you can, and you've won, because you can't do better than the best. And if you want to tomorrow, it'll take you a little longer. I'll tell you something. When I did my first post, it took me 6 hours. And then within like a month, I got it down to like 2 hours. And then after a year, I got it down to like an hour. but I kept finding little facets, little elements that I couldn't have seen at the beginning. And what I advocate for everybody is the deeper you go with people, the richer it gets.
Yeah.
Right? If you don't judge a book by its cover, if you're not superficial, if you are worthy of people's time and attention, you'll attract it. Too many people chase, and what you chase runs from you, right? And what you do for yourself projects from you and attracts to you. Here we go with a good co-host Don, engaging audience. That's it. The audience is everything. Discipline is my theme for 2023. Have to live that if I want to embody it. I did a lot of introducing. What do you think, Sarah? It's only getting better and better.
Absolutely, absolutely. And like you say, it's only getting better and better because of the audience engagement. You start with a theme, like today's theme was focus, and we've talked around it, but the people who are listening are adding value to it, and enhancing what we're saying and adding in their own life's experiences, and how it reflects in their lives and their eyes. As well as meeting and greeting everybody with the pleasantries of the day. I mean, it's just fabulous. I love it.
Well, it shows it's possible if you include people. Like I keep mentioning that quote I heard: tell somebody something and they forget, teach somebody something they may remember, but involve somebody and they learn.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
that's what you want, is involvement, interaction, because the virtual world is so different than the physical world. Because the physical world, you're in it, and it's easy to get bruised, it's easy to get knocked down. In a virtual world, there's a lot more insulation, and trusting what you feel is so much more valuable than anything else you can trust. And when you have 40, 50 people show up every day, because it does something for them. I mean, you wouldn't have a gym if people didn't leave there feeling better than they started. Most people would rather have slept in, would rather ate a longer breakfast, read a newspaper, or been online. But once they get out of there, I mean, they feel fresh, they feel strong, they feel confident, because it works. And if you find anything that works, and again, one brick at a time, if you like this show, there's other shows. And typically go to the people on this show and you'll know their show is pretty much vetted, right? Gretchen has her show every week. I see Christy and Kelly are starting their show this week, and I'm a big fan of using this for a runway, because if I didn't do this with someone else for 6 months, I wouldn't have been able to do it. So, it's really about, if it was good for you and someone helped you, pay it forward, help somebody else, and we can change this world. People who give up on themselves, that's one thing. You have a little bit more control over that. But all of us together, sending the most positive messages in the most positive ways, will be a model for people who say, I'm tired of the noise. I'm tired of the anger. I'm tired of the hate. I want to be part of the good side, the positive side, the stories where without you, I couldn't have done this, because you can save a lot of lives. Omar says, if you are doing an activity daily, it is training for you to be productive and other things in life, to be more organized. And, there is something to focus and discipline and organization and following through. But, if you just look at it, I forget the Chinese proverb that says, every journey of 1,000 miles starts with one step, and then it's one step following it. And everybody can do one step. And that's another thing. What's easy to do is easy not to do. And, again, if someone says, here's a book, read it, you'll look at how wide it is and you'll say, oh, no, I can't do it. But if someone says, do yourself a favor, can you read a page? It'll take you about 2 minutes. Yeah, I can find 2 minutes. Well, in 300 days, you'll have read that whole book, but maybe you decide, I like this book and I want to read 3 pages today, right? And once you can get someone engaged, and the only way people will really get engaged is if you make it safe for them.
Yeah,
To
and
say,
help them to take those baby steps as well, Don, because like you said, somebody might look at something and deem it far too big a step from where they are now to where they want to be. And it's exactly as you've said, break it down into baby steps. Always keep sight of where you want to be and just work out what is the smallest thing that you can do to get yourself on that journey to be where you want to be. And don't overwhelm yourself. Break it down into literally tiny baby steps. What's the smallest thing you can do? Whether it's like walk to the shop for the newspaper instead of take the car, or pick a couple of weeds up instead of weed the whole garden. And take a couple of steps up the mountain instead of running all the way to the top and then wondering how you got there. You can always do whatever you want to do, but you need to break it down so that it doesn't overwhelm you.
yeah, that's perfect advice. And it's so beautiful because everybody can do that. The other thing is by being an outsider and having fresh eyes and ears, you can identify things that are virtuous and valuable that the person does and isn't giving credit for. So, as the other side of looking at something as being too big and too daunting is not giving yourself enough credit for the wonderful things you do. Right? If you've got a dog and you love that dog and you take care of it and you take walks, that's a credit to you. You're a guardian, right? And you're doing your job right. If you're maintaining your car, you're a good citizen in that way. So too many people, they look up instead of looking down all the way. Agmandino said, if you ever feel sorry for yourself, look at the obituaries and say, who wouldn't trade places with you right now? And you got to pinch yourself. It's like, why am I not understanding this? Because it's true. And that's what we're really talking about, is being authentic, sharing what you feel, but also knowing you're better than you're giving yourself credit for. And nobody that you know or love would be talking to you like this to you.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. Go ahead.
Sorry to interrupt. And also think that, it's okay to have bad times and sad times and angry times. Acknowledge what's going on in your life that's made you feel like that. And if you need to, have a tiny little pity party for yourself. Give yourself some love and really feel those feelings. But then pick yourself up and move forwards. But sometimes we do need to just sit and be with whatever it is that's negative or that's impacting us. And that's never, ever a problem. But we just must remember not to live there. We need to then pick ourselves up and move back forwards onto the path that we choose to be on.
Absolutely. And I think the other element, we talked about curiosity. It's different ways of looking at the same thing, but feeling better with someone else's binoculars, maybe for a change instead of your own. And also understanding that no one gets out of here alive anyways, right? So what do you got to lose by putting it all out there? And you know what you find? There's always more. When you put everything out there today, there'll be everything out there you can do tomorrow too. You're never going to be in scarcity. If anything, you're not taking advantage of abundance. And the final, like I say, piece, I believe, is humor. No matter what it is, there's something laughable about it. Even if it's the weirdest, dumbest thing that ever could happen. There's just something to doing a giggle, even a laugh, and that will break some of it, and at the end of the day, if you're thinking this, you're still alive, you're still living, right? So
Yeah.
whatever happened, you didn't take you out. Now you've got an opportunity to reset, retune, and more importantly, have that group around you who is waiting for you to reach out and say, this just happened. I don't know how to even understand this, right? Is anybody out there? And you'll find there are so many people out there who, if they don't have the identical situation, have something just like it. And the other thing is, nothing's as bad when you're with someone else who cares about you.
Yeah.
You know, just knowing they're next to you, knowing they're just having a cup of tea. They're not going to give you the wisdom of the world, but it breaks it down to, hey, we're together, you're here, let's enjoy each other, and let's figure out what we need to do next. Just like Sarah said, when someone says, well, you know, let me do this tomorrow to help you, right? That makes a big difference. Or what's going on this week that I can see you're overwhelmed. What can I take over? Can I go shopping for you? Can I, you know, bake something, make you feel whatever it is you're offering, and now they're getting something from something that wasn't that great. And you know, the bigger thought is, if I can do it, you can do it,
And
right?
can I just add in there as well, Don? Sometimes we don't even need to offer anything. Sometimes just being that ear for somebody to offload all of their problems is all it takes to help them on their healing. Like, I can't remember who mentioned it in the chat earlier on. Oh, I think it was Christine, actually. She said, you know, I wanted all this and to be all this. And she felt better just getting it out, because sometimes when we offload, it's cathartic and it lightens our load just by getting it out. So just be an ear for somebody who's having a tough time can help.
Yeah, and just create even a positive distraction, which is not really trying to solve the problem, but say, hey, let's go to the movie next week, or let's take time and go to lunch, have a little fun. Don't worry about, we'll talk about this later, you know, or hey, put this aside. You can get back to it. You know, let's enjoy each other. And you could be the reason why someone moves on, or just decides, hey, it's not great, but it's not the end of the world. And I've been through worse and I can deal with this. And the nice thing, you know, is eventually it'll be over. Whatever it is will resolve itself one way or the other. And why take valuable time today to think of outcomes that you could probably manifest those outcomes if you really focus on the worst and what happens. And all of a sudden it's just, you know, like they say, every day you have two choices. You can be happy or sad, and both of those are determined by you. So let's finish up with the comments. This is definitely the fastest hour on LinkedIn Live. Another great show, Don. Great seeing again, Sarah Dawkins. When we bring on guests, I'd love to have you on my show. You know, and that's terrific, because, you know, to me, this is almost like a comedy club or an improv where people come, kind of, you know, introduce themselves and find themselves on the circuit or on other people's shows. And that's where you really build your brand influence, by people seeing you for who you are, when you are, with what you do. And you can forget about the resume, the profile. You know, you get the whole real person, and in a loving, supportive environment. Very good points there. Acknowledge we don't have bad times, but don't stay there. Also taking baby steps and breaking things down, not to trying to do it all at once. Laughter makes the heart merry. And, you know, I think what people should also appreciate, like Lillian's comment here, it validates what Sarah's saying and what Sarah's saying to herself, right? And that's important. When people actually say, not only do I hear you, I believe you, and now I'm going to use what you just shared with me, then that makes us feel we're on the right track, and we can continue to do this. So everybody is important to everybody as everybody else, to make it something that will blossom. And people can look back 6 months from now, because I look at what my show was 6 months ago and what it was to what it is, and I know it's got so much more roots and so much more horsepower now, that this thing is yet to really hit the track. And I can't wait when this thing starts, and it already has a life of its own. It's like a rippling thing that's already started down the mountain, and just hopeful for how wonderful it can be. So Lillian says, okay, laughter makes the heart merry. With that great finale, I want to thank Sarah so much, and she has one last chance to say her final words, and she'll be back in 2 weeks. And really quick, so I don't forget, let me get who's on. Tomorrow is going to be Leslie. Then on Tuesday is Andrea, who's been doing almost every Tuesday. Roxanne is Wednesday. Kim is going to be first time with Kelly on Thursday. Christy's on Friday. Joanne, who is a new host, will be here next Saturday. And then on Sunday, we've got Samuel Borelli, who's a great guy that I've known for a couple of years, and international person involved with sustainability and wonderful topics like that. So, Sarah?
Thanks, Don. So all I would say, just really focus on yourself. Focus on, who are you now? Is that who you want to be? And if not, what is it that's making you fit that persona, and what can you do to change it? Bring the focus right back down to you. Who are you? Where are you? Where do you want to be? And what steps can you take to get you to where you're going? And take baby steps. Don't overwhelm yourself if it's such a huge leap. And good luck.
Well, that's a great wrapper to put on this. And it's very comprehensive and concise and doable. And I'm sure Sarah, just like myself, would love to hear when and how you apply some of this and what the result is, because we'll share your testimonial also. So want to wish everybody a wonderful day and week ahead, and look forward to everybody resting up and coming back in 23 hours and doing it again. So this has been fabulous. Thank you so much, everyone. Couldn't have done it without you. Take care. And